pain of separation is the hardest pain possible. Anyone who feels it. And I broke off my engagement after 3 years of blood love with my beloved. She was my neighbor at the same time. In an attempt to forget, I isolated her building far away. I came to this place convinced that I must start my life again. Because I was just a tenor in a casino, and my salary was not large, the apartment I bought was also not large. It was one room in a very old building, and it was not clean and strong. But in any case, it served its purpose. And that's it. It's been 10 days, and life is normal. However, later on, I began to hear bizarre sounds during the night. Something resembling muttering, with hours that were indecipherable. Hours are clear. I wonder if you pose any danger, huh? Once I got out of bed and walked behind the source of the sound, I looked out of the magic eye. Did you see a thin person not wearing a shirt on his body? He is standing right in front of the door of my apartment, smiling strangely and scratching the door with its doors. This scenario keeps recurring every second or third night. Peggy would come to the door and threaten me or sit and sing strange songs in a childish voice. I thought I'd open the door and face him and ask him what exactly does he want. But I was afraid he had a knife, especially since I couldn't see his hands through the magic eye. What puzzled me was that he was acting so normal that I would meet him at any time on the stairs during the day. It was also Pinker. He is the person who bothers me at night against my will. I was angry with him, but it was very clear to him that he really didn't understand what I was talking about. One day, my sister came to visit me to check on me and see the new apartment. After I went down, I went into my room to sleep. I was awakened by the identical whispers and murmurs, though this time I found myself alert. Feel the sound? Strong, cousin. When I opened my eyes, I found this crazy man inside the room. A worker was banging his brain in caution, so much so that I saw a large bloodstain, and he was singing a mix of religious hymns to nursery rhymes. I was taking myself well. I just felt myself screaming at him and saying, "What are you doing here?" He turned and looked at me with the same creepy smile. What's odd is that he neither attacked me nor approached me. Instead, he took some items and vacated the apartment. I couldn't stand it, and as soon as he came out, I called the police. The police took it. They landed him in a mental hospital, and it was clear that he had schizophrenia, and that he was originally one of the detainees inside the hospital, but he escaped 2 months ago. The reason for his detention inside the psychiatric and mental diseases hospital from the beginning was that he hit the postal service with a shovel for no reason, and this young man entered a long coma and then died. I never saw this deranged man after that, and I was forced to live in the apartment for 2 years after this terrifying night, until I was able to find a reasonable amount and buy a new apartment with it. Nevertheless, it has just become part of history now. Halloween night in the year 2019. I was 14 years old at the time, and my father and mother were doctors who worked all night. I was so bored of sitting at home all day alone, I decided to go out. I walked down the street in front of Bet Noah Shamhua. It was 9 at night, and I very much loved walking at night in peace, especially on the road that leads to the forest, because there are not many people in it, and sometimes there is no one at all, and so I can spend a pleasant time with myself. On the road, I passed next to his neighbor's house, and the one who was outside had loud noises. It was clear that he was celebrating Halloween with his friends. I heard loud music and lights going on and off. The strange thing about this neighbor of ours is that he had 2 left living next to us. However, we have never seen him, nor have we ever heard his voice with Delilah Halloween every year. This is the only night in which we feel his presence, because he is a big party worker. However, until the day of the Halloween party, I do not see the guests and guests who are coming to attend the party. I don't know how they come and walk without anyone feeling them. He stayed in front of his house briefly before I continued my usual route. The atmosphere was calm and beautiful, and the sky was clear, and the time was very suitable. I put the headphones in my heart and listened to songs while I was walking. I had a very nice time and felt very comfortable, and then I turned around and went back the same way again to go home. Everything was very normal until I got close to the house. A stranger appeared who was standing in the middle of the street, specifically in front of the neighbor's house next to us. I felt nervous and afraid because the man did not look normal. He was tall and bald in a black suit. His skin was white like a ghost, and his bug was stitched with surgical stitches. He was advancing towards me with slow steps, and my heart was upon a fear. When he came near me, I saw a good face. His presence was strong and intimidating, with a vein circle around his eyes. As he got closer, I was paralyzed with fear. My house was nearby, but I couldn't figure out how to reach it since he stood halfway between me and the house. I was terrified that moving would leave me vulnerable in the empty street with no one around to help. I considered running fast to avoid getting caught, but he was already close, his strong hand on my shoulder. His hand was heavy, and though he began to speak, I struggled to hear and understand him because of the loud music and Danny. Once I muted the music, I could comprehend his words. He used to say that he was throwing a big party at his house on the occasion of the Alawites, but no one came to celebrate with him, and he used to tell me that I was attending the party with him at his house. From his words, I was able to understand that this is the mysterious neighbor who lives next to us and does not appear to anyone. I was very afraid and did not repeat his words again and consulted the house, but this time he was yelling at me as if ordering me to go with him. I kept shivering, determined not to go with someone unfamiliar, even if he was our neighbor. To distract him, I looked at his house as if thinking. Then I looked at him and quickly moved his hands away from me, went out and increased my speed while I was passing from the side of his house, as if I was afraid that someone would come out of him and kidnap me. I arrived at my house, but my hands were shaking, and I took some time until I turned the key in its place and opened the door. If I had been 1 minute late, this man could have followed me, kidnapped me, and brought me into his house safely. I entered the house at last, and the door let go of the key and bolt. Tears began to roll down my cheeks from fear. I went down to the basement to hide. I called my father and mother to visit me. When my father arrived, I felt some relief, but he scolded me for going out alone while they were away. He refused to report to the police, as there was no evidence of the guard attacking or threatening me. My family and I haven't talked about this topic again, but I'm still very afraid to leave the house alone, especially on Halloween. When I thought about it, I found that this man could be a criminal because he never shows himself to anyone, and he only appears on Halloween night to pick up victims, take them home, and end their lives. I have no evidence of this. That was the only logical explanation. My name is William, and I am 10 years old. I thoroughly enjoy playing games on my computer, as well as my mobile phone whenever I have free time. PUBG is my favorite, and the rest of the games in general. I'm not attached to games because of the game itself, as much as I like to get to know new people while playing, and talk to them in chat. My mother was always annoyed with me because I spent a long time playing and didn't sit with her. But honestly, she never yelled at me or forced me to listen to her words of well-being. I have never met my father. My mother tells me that he vanished shortly before I was born. Perhaps this is what makes her so affectionate with me, never refusing a request. The only issue with my mother is that she tries to raise me in an unusual way, never punishing me by hitting or yelling, but using a more frightening type of punishment. Whenever I did something wrong, she would sit in front of me and tell me a terrifying story about someone who did the same thing I did. And then his end would be tragic. Her stories were frightening, to the point that I was shaking while listening to them, and I also couldn't sleep because of them. Although I know that most of these stories are certainly not true, this did not reduce their impact on me. And today, since I have been playing an online game all day, I found my mother telling me,
"You know the story of a boy who was obsessed with online games like you."
I responded to her and told her that I'm not ready to hear any scary stories about her illness today, and that I have also grown up. These stories no longer scare me, but I found her insistent and telling me that today's story is different because it is a true story, and it happened to someone close to me who is strong. I looked at her and I was surprised. I was thinking, should I hear it or not? And in the end, I told her with confidence.
Tell
Me.
Eddie's story. Who did it get to?
You sure? To prove to her that I was focused with her, I closed the laptop and told her that I was very ready to listen. She laughed a strange laugh and told me bravo to you, and she started talking. There once was a boy named Pakistan. He loved online games. He spent all his time with his computer. One day, he was playing a game with a group of people for strangers. He didn't know who they were. During the game, one player messaged him, identifying him as a high school student and inquiring if they knew each other. They chose to chat for a while and exchanged a few words. This person asked Pakistan for a very strange request. He told him that he would help him and give him more than an extra life inside the game. While Pakistan told him where his home address was, the game he was playing was draining all his concentration, and he was about to achieve a high score, and he really needed that extra life. That's why, without thinking, I sold his address and shash to the unknown person who was talking to him. The person actually gave him extra life in the game, and Pakistan reached the highest level as he wanted. He immersed himself in the game for hours on end. But the anonymous person no longer sends him messages in Pakistan's chat. I think he was offline and was getting ready to go to sleep in his bed because it's too late. But it was true at 12 hour, at a loud sound, the sound of a knee dragging and trading on the floor in his father and mother's bedroom. Or from the bed, and he walked to their bathroom. He tried to open the door, but it was locked by the pool. There was a knock on the door, and he called upon them.
Mama, Papa, is there anything in your room?
Seconds later, his mother answered, explaining they were relocating the cupboard, causing the bothersome noise. Pakistan looked back at his cat again and fell asleep on his bed. But he also woke up with a louder sound than the first time. The sound of something floundering stiffly on the ground. The sound was also coming from the father and mother's room. At this moment, I felt fear. He locked his door securely with the key and returned to his bed. As soon as he closed his eyes, he heard his mother's voice knocking on his door from outside. Pakistan, are you still sleeping? Open the door for me, please. Security lying on the bed, he observes what his mother desires. Why does her voice alter and sound so unusual? He unlocked the door and proceeded to his room. But the first thing he noticed was that the door to his father and mother's room was open, faces on the ground, with traces of blood, as if dragging a bleeding body and its neighbor on the ground. Enter the room. He also found the bed drowning in blood, and the pillows fell to the floor. Pakistan Nada Ali is on a roll and he is afraid. He felt that there was something unnatural in the house. But his mother didn't answer him this time. Suddenly he heard the sound of something falling to the ground. What did he see when he rolled over? He found 16 wearing a blue dress, holding in her hand a knife full of blood. On the ground beside her man were 2 severed roses. Ross, Pakistan's father, and his mother's head. This woman killed his father and mother and was talking to him from outside the room and pretending to be his mother. He was about to steal so the neighbors could hear him and catch up. However, Lady D assaulted him, stabbing him as well, eventually annihilating the entire family. She started stealing everything in the house. She carried a large bag with her, placing everything inside, small in size, yet of great value. She almost took everything in the house, and she's ready to go out. But suddenly I heard a little baby's cry. A newborn baby. Didn't she stand in her place and look toward the north, toward the place from which she came? The voice did not know that there was another child in this family. I took the knife again and walked towards the room from where the sound was originating. The first time I entered the room door, I found the child sleeping in his bed. His eyes are serious in her eyes. In that moment, she truly felt a mother's love for her son for the very first time. She didn't realize the blanket fell from her hands. As she placed the child on her armor, he went silent, then started crying, and then burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. She wiped the blood on her hand onto his blanket. She began manipulating the child and gripped him by the cheek. In that moment of murder and brutality, it transformed into immense love. She departed from this house, taking the young boy with her to live in her home and raising him as her own son. As soon as my mother finished the story, I realized that the blood had dried up in my veins and Albie was quickly pawned by so much fear. The area of sweat on my forehead, and I asked her,
Of course, this story is not true. Why do you say it belongs to someone close to me?
No, it is actually a true story, and I got to know you well. Would you like to know if this little child is poisonous?
What did you call it?
Attributes, William.
my whole body keeps shaking. I take myself well, and he heard my heartbeat. I asked her, praying that what I was thinking wasn't real.
But yeah, Mama, my name is William.
She gave a comforting smile, her hands ceasing to hold my face as she spoke to me.
I know, sweetheart. What am I, the one who named you?
I went out and ran outside the room crying. To this day, I don't know if this is a resemblance to Asma or Mama. She was trying to scare me so I wouldn't play online again. The thought that she isn't my real mother, but a criminal who killed my entire family, is a horrifying idea to me. But of course, this is not the truth. Of course, she is my mother, and she only meant to scare me. Ha ha ha. It was last year, particularly on Valentine's Day, when my fiancé tragically died while in Arab custody. We were in love. We were together for 6 years, and then we got engaged, and our engagement lasted 4 months, but I loved her. From high school days, we eagerly prepared for our passport and waited for weeks. But her charge destroyed me and changed everything. Something in my life went into a state of depression, and I was not able to overcome its loss. But when I resorted to psychotherapy, I improved a lot. And still is. My family and all my friends convinced me that I should get over Riham and start a love affair. New, because I am still young. I am 26 years old. Life is still ahead of me. We were on February 13th, and I decided to offer myself a new opportunity, and I said I would try. Go out with my colleague to work. She was still transferred to work, and we got to know each other recently. I actually asked her to go out on Valentine's Day, and she agreed. Today I came back tired from. At work, I would heat food, have dinner, and sleep, but I sat watching TV for a while. I got a message on mobile first. Something that came to my mind is from my colleague at work, whom I will meet tomorrow. The message was,
You say, my love, I miss you so much.
And the grit. She was followed by Riham's number. Impossible. I contacted the telecommunications company myself, and they hung up Riham's line after he was tired. I estimated about 2 months or so. The company may have led her number to anyone else. But even if this happened, how did this second limit reach my number? I ignored the whole subject and went into the kitchen to prepare dinner. But I got another message. I received a voice note, and I anticipated hearing an unfamiliar voice, confirming the misdial and concluding the matter. However, I'll admit, a bouquet of flowers appeared with Riham's name on my phone. It was incredibly challenging. I did not want to plunge back into depression, especially after struggling so much to escape it. I played the voice note.
My dearest, it's Riham. I'm just checking on you. Do you still remember me? Last year on Valentine's Day, I couldn't convey my feelings. But now I have so much to say. I still love you deeply.
Of all the things I might forget in the world, Nathan's line is not one of them. I don't understand anything anymore. I feel shocked and don't know what to do, except that I felt afraid. I put the mobile aside. I finished preparing dinner. I came back 1-2 hours with no messages. I took my plate and we went to sit in front of the TV and her mobile phone watch. Brent rang the message. I was afraid to see her, but I have no other choice. I got the letter from Serene, my colleague at work. I was a little relieved. She was confirming we'd meet tomorrow at Rivera's at 7 now. I told her okay. 1 second later, a violin message arrived. I expected it to be a secret. That's why I opened the message all the way without looking at the name. But I got the message saying,
At this speed, you replaced me with another unit, Jamal.
the one she sold? Where does the message know my name from? As long as he knows, my name is definitely not this. Wrong number. Also, I had no other solution in front of me. Ignore. Your cell phone is from Eddie. I finished watching TV. But I felt an unnatural need. As if I'm not. Alone in the apartment? Is there anyone with me? Did you look out of his eye? I saw the black shadow of 16 cattle in the direction of my bedroom. I told myself I was sure. Hallucinations on Valentine's Day. The day Reham died, and my mind certainly started playing tricks because of the stress I was in. But after a while, again, I saw the same black shadow coming out of my room. I felt her approaching the sofa I was sitting on. I was terrified that I was looking next to me. I preferred the center carefully on television. Suddenly, I felt movement on the couch. I felt her sitting next to me. Her shadow was black at the base of me, and I do not have the courage to remove her. I heard her voice say, "You just ignored her?" At this moment, I saw Soldier. Because my chest was weak, it was a little variable. We look anxious, as if I expect to see my dead fiancé. But what I saw was one demonic entity. I don't know her. Her eyes are red and hollow. She was wearing a black wedding dress with a transparent palette on her face. The last thing I remember was that she was looking at me with a terrifying look. Don't you remember anything? After that, why did I faint and take me to the hospital? My older brother told me that he happened to be the neighbor of the apartment, and he found me lying on the floor and lost awareness. Today is February 16. This means that I spent 3 days in a coma. I desperately tried to explain to them what I witnessed, but nobody believed me. The doctor even suggested that I might have overdosed on my antidepressant and hypnotic medications. Wait, think carefully. I didn't take it. No overdose is needed. No matter how much I tried to convince my family that the drugs weren't the reason, they refused to believe me, and I felt like they were treating me like I was crazy. To prove them my words are true, I asked my brother my mobile. Where? Because the messages on it are the only evidence that I'm not crazy or he is preparing for me. But my brother rang and found the mobile phone falling next to me on the ground while I was unconscious. It was devastating, like a limit. He broke it in a rage. Both the doctor and my family are convinced that I could be the one who caused the damage, despite my obliviousness. The subject is very confusing, but I am sure it is so true that for a while I was afraid to return the apartment alone. Do you trust me, or do you also believe that I am going mad?